The one thing that I want to say is, you know, we talked before about releasing in scoliosis and how literally any hang over a period of time needs to be a little longer for scoliosis. Working your clients up to it is ideal. And I want to say, I'm commenting on this now because I'm about to say something which kind of contradicts. So if you're training for scoliosis, hips and shoulders square. So if you're lying on the floor, they need to connect their back of their shoulders to the floor. Look, this is for everybody. It's actually quite difficult. And when people strain, when an action gets difficult or they get fatigued, they contract, and that will curl their shoulders off, and it will activate the wrong areas of the spine. So it's like, it also creates, you know, when people are like super, super fit, but their abdomen is like almost rounded or an odd shape. Because the weave is not flat, and it means that they're working in a contracted position, right? It's like a bicep. It's round and curly because we activate it in that contracted position. Mm-hmm. So if you have a client that is working with that, or you notice that starts to happen, even just working on your back and connecting the back of your shoulders restricts you from contracting. So the weave is nice and open, and then the abs lay really flat. And you will never get that kind of eight-pack looking thing if you're working in a contraction. Just can't happen, right? So you kind of, when you, especially you're working one-on-one, you really have to like observe their body to see what they're doing, because it's amazing how well we mask, right? It's like my crazy spine. Like, you can't see, if you see, I'm gonna try and get an x-ray so you guys can see it, because you'll just be like, what? So I'm gonna go through a series of specific exercises today that really tailor towards this, and in just a few different positions. So I'm going to kind of methodically go from the ground up. So we're going to start in an ankle hang. Now, I did even talk about this last week. Just get your foot in, right? Don't do it like that. So when lying on the ground, we've talked about how just activating the pelvic floor and curling through the spine to lift, and then slowly vertebrae by vertebrae going down. Hard for everyone, slightly impossible for scoliosis, so you could literally just do this for a whole class, and they will be so focused. So this activation is great. Once you're here, you may remember doing this work where we lift with one leg, and my stabilizing side is strongly activated, holding. And by adding a turnout in the movement, it starts to activate the non-activated side. So suddenly both sides have to work in a different pattern, which causes confusion anatomically, and that weak side will start to do something. So another really great one is taking the foot just beside and holding this core strong here, and just doing really small movements. You can do a flexed or stretched, keep it interesting, and allowing, even try this yourself, you guys, when you are not watching, or when you watch this back, so that you can feel the activation yourself. It should only take 4 of anything to feel an activation if you're doing it properly. Yeah. If it takes 8, something's not right. So, going on from here methodically, going into this double ankle hang when we do the plank work, all of this is good. This is probably the most important thing you can remember when working with someone to condition a part of the body. The muscle that's at the top, as in literally upward, is the part that's doing main activation. So as soon as I go into a plank, my back is up, everything is magnified for the work. So going into, like you can do anything, so you can be creative. But here I am, both lats have to engage. Taking it into a tuck, taking it into a side tuck, little Susie crunches we call, bracing coming into pike. All of this, including cat-cow, will activate for the back. And if you're specifically working with someone, either privately or even in a group setting, you will start to see some things will be easy, some things will be almost impossible. And that unbalanced strength with them is where you're seeing the conditioning really happening, and you want to double work the weaker side. So you work one side, double work the weak side. So, how do we get the back up in other positions? So coming into a tabletop, so I'm going to go clasped, tabletop. My back is up. Working square shoulders, square hips, biceps between the ears, not drooping down, keeping flat spine. And again, this simple lift or balance is creating activation in both sides.
Can I ask a question on that, Dennis?
I love you too. Yes, thank you.
So I had Steve doing that yesterday, and I was like, his arms would just spin the other way so he could use the other muscles. Yes. But then his hips would also do the thing. So should I hold his hips straight, or should I keep his arms straight for him?
Arms.
Okay.
Right? So what I would do in that though, you have two choices. I liked people to feel the success of getting a movement down. But in the beginning, you want to take it to where he can't. So it's not about the big movement, especially if his hamstrings are short, even this is hard. But he's here, maybe this makes him, lean over.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So just trying to get him to pick up a foot and put it down without moving.
Okay.
Then moving it back, because the bending of the legs easy. Moving it back straight requires so much more stability in the hip, because my hip didn't move here, but my hip moved here. So even just getting him to stretch his foot out at the back and coming back, amazing. Okay. Then at the end of that, come around, stabilize his arms, and have him do the action. And that's the moment where you're gonna see him be like, probably quite vocal. It will be so difficult, because then he's gonna try and use you as leverage, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine, let him feel that success, so I love that.
Okay.
Someone super strong like that too, you can do this forward plank. This is where you're gonna get the activation of the lateral side, the moving into the obliques of the that latissimus dorsi across here. We'll take it wide, right? And someone who's quite strong in their triceps can do this easily. But if you take a wrist lock into that same movement, you can then take it into a tricep press, right? And the first one, you're going to feel your shoulders. You go into the second and third time, and you're going to feel it right across the span of the back. And again, one side will be weak. So, still haven't got to my favorite one, but quickly going through tornadoes. Tornadoes done slow and controlled is where you're going to get the strength, find out that weakness point. So no point in doing these fast, because it's only the stretch. And sometimes you might even just like to see how I'm going like partial way and going around. So I'm commanding a stop, and then I might go partial way back here. And that's, you just feel the muscle toning like, and that, I've been doing that a long time. It looks simple, but it's actually super hard, right? We all understand that core activation is ideal. So another idea, this is just a simple one. When you're in rib hang and you're doing knee lifts, is to do alternate ones, because what's happening there is you get a pumping in the spine, and that brings really good blood flow, and I like to do that blood flow. And to be honest, because you know I have scoliosis, I'm really feeling that across the top of my pelvis right now, because that side is just going like, are you kidding me? Right? And just from these little tiny exercises. So I don't think I have this movement in any of my classes, but it's a really great one. And I don't use it a lot because it's something that for some reason mentally I use this a lot with dancers. So Jasmine, you might have done this, but it's a great one if people need to be comfortable in front hip hang to be able to do it. So we go into front hip hang, which again, back is up. So this is an amazing one for scoliosis. And maybe I'm going to start by doing this little split, right? We've got this little stretch. But if I hold the split and then activate the top leg, bring it down and lift. Bring it down and lift. So this is my weak side. And for the first time, like, it's so rare for me. I feel nothing in my strong side, and my weak side is just on fire. And then this is the strong side for me. And I'm feeling that from the glute all the way up to mid-thoracic, and that is probably the hardest area to really get into. Taking it further into lifting into dolphins, and then if I'm able to balance and go down with control, not just up, and this movement before that hang, if you think of the spine and you can see the lat lip up over the spine, right? You see the spine and then there's like that lip of muscle that comes down. That movement of lifting up in the dolphin is pulling, like making that sore cut along that line. And for someone with scoliosis, that's what they don't have. So the muscle like flattens out and then it comes back. And the other side kind of just morphs. So they don't have that cut down because the spine isn't straight. And when you do that movement, it articulates that. It's just, and you can see that obviously that's been key for me. That's one that, that's kind of my go-to when my back's really bad. That will take the pain away, not the stretch. So I activate like that, the pain point goes away, and then I relax and let the whole thing just release. Amazing. Just to give you something in back hip hang, you can, I like the circular crunches. And I'm gonna jump into cocoon, so I'm not even gonna demonstrate that. But you know, when you're in back hip hang, you're crunching, obviously, that's a core activation. If you're doing oblique, great activation for scoliosis. What was that, Tess?
I'm just nodding.
Yeah.
I'm understanding.
And if you take it into a circle, either way, again, you just see those weak points, right? So this last two things I'm going to show you is in cocoon. So I'm going to kind of explain them in case it's difficult to see. But when you open your legs in that abdominal work, that we do in cocoon. I'm just going to get in a way that I would never recommend, so I won't do that. So if you're in, and when you open your legs wide to a V, so this movement for someone with scoliosis is almost impossible. That activation in the lower back, that first opening, it's so difficult. Because on one side, of course, I don't have it. Add in a crunch, and it's gold. I can take it to the side, which I'm sure you've done with me for oblique works. And probably the strongest is the shoulder stand with the half plow. So if you're here and you go into a nice balance, you're getting that full core activation, coming down into half plow and going back up and again. And that is really great as well, because in order to do that, I have to get a pelvic stabilization. And often, that's the biggest thing. People with SI joint issues, so anybody that's hypermobile, if they don't have it yet, they will get SI joint issues. I think there's somebody that's on the screen that might have it. Who might that be? A couple of you, right, yes.
Currently.
Right, and you both have that hypermobility. What happens is, and I mean, I can do a whole thing on the SI joint because you'll get a lot of clients with that. And it's not scoliotic, it's one side has more flexibility than the other side. And asymmetrical training must be done to fix that. So they're unlike scoliosis where we stretch the tighter side. For SI joint, if you stretch the tighter side, it's just pulling the open side over, right? And if you stretch the open side, you're stretching it wider. So working one leg and then the other does not work for SI joint. Different. Yes? You must work asymmetrically. That's a whole other thing, right? So, stabilizing it as a unit, not independently, because independently just will not work. So those are our main keys, right? And they're just like a few movements. And I had this idea this morning that I'll put all the movements together in a class and upload a class so that you can see what that looks like all together with stretch and strength in one class that's sort of focused on that spinal balance. Yay! Right? Anybody have any questions? Does anyone else here on this feed today have scoliosis?
Yeah,
just a
a
little
bit mild, yeah.
All right, and it's really interesting about scoliosis. One thing that I do want to say that is not discussed enough is if you kind of research into the background of this spinal abnormality, you will find that it is predominantly female, and you'll find that there is a heavy change, an onset that happens at the time of puberty. So sometimes it's not diagnosed until kids are like about 13. Girls in particular, the hormones change, that changes the structure of the muscle and the spine goes. But what they don't tell you is that when that hormone change happens again at menopause, it happens again. So if you have this window of really kind of working with it, and if you don't do anything about it, you will have a dramatic change again. And of course, it's harder to get on top of then. So if you're working with a specific client, it's important to let them know that this is part of the process, and the only person that can work on it is you, right? So true, so true. So yes, that's all my news, you guys. Yes. So I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add. I have some ideas for next week. I'm still working on them, but if you have anything specific you would like covered, could be anything, let me know.
I had a question.
Yeah.
It's not related to scoliosis, but I have a dancer, and when she stretches, she doesn't really feel a lot of muscle stretching. She just feels a lot of nerve pain.
Is she quite tight?
In some areas of her body, she's super tight, and then super flexy in others. So I'm finding it hard to level her out.
Where is the nerve pain?
I think it's like when she does like a hamstring stretch.
Yeah. Is it down the back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the calf, she feels it all down her leg.
I'm loving that we're talking about this.
This pain.
Yeah.
Right? So this is just from very small information. I'd have to like assess her. So there's 8% of population where the sciatic nerve does not run underneath the piriformis muscle, it runs through it.
Yeah.
Now, similar to this extra bone, which is a whole other topic of conversation that's appearing in people's feet, you have to remember that when they assess a percent of the population, that's a percent of the population that they're scanning, right? So to understand that itself is a very small part of the population. So when they estimate it's like, I don't know, like 18%, it's probably closer to like 48, right? So, so when you have that, every time that piriformis muscle is lengthened, it squeezes the sciatic nerve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
So that means you have to stretch everything without stretching the piriformis.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
So you have to like open the hips. You have to work on other hip openings. Even working in complete relaxation. So legs up the wall, hamstring stretch, not a standing. So she can just relax and chill, right?
Yeah.
Then let her open to that wide V, and lengthening the adductor will also make for more room.
Okay.
Great question. I'm so excited to share that. Well done. Okay, well, everybody, that's it for today. Check out to get onto the group. You're welcome. Thank you for joining, and have a beautiful week.
Did you want me to share that thing, Janice?
Yes, before we finish today, I would really, on our closing, love for Jasmine to share this quote that she shared that helped her. And the minute I heard it, it really resonated with me. I just heard it this morning. And because all of us are in this position, I think it's very valuable. So thank you, and go ahead, Jazzy.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm currently teaching somewhere, and I was just having some emotional struggles, and then literally the morning where I was like really feeling it, this quote came up, and it says, "Best career advice that I can give. Don't ever attach yourself to a person, a place, a company, an organization, or a project. Attach yourself to a mission, a calling, a purpose only. That's how you keep your power and your peace."
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Jazzy. It's so beautiful, right? Truer words could not be spoken.